Shut up and get out of here.
Gentlemen will suspend. Gentlemen will suspend.
Get out of here, you loser. Come on. By the way, to be clear, I hold you all responsible for this. It is the attitude that you have allowed on your college campuses that make people think that this is okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to be honest. I find the testimony today both disgusting, dishonest, and to be gaslighting, and I'm going to point it out here. We've heard that we unequivocally denounce anti-Semitism, unwavering support for our Jewish students. We have a zero-tolerance policy.
I recognize the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Fine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to be honest. I find the testimony today both disgusting, dishonest, and to be gaslighting, and I'm going to point it out here. We've heard that we unequivocally denounce anti-Semitism, unwavering support for our Jewish students. We have a zero-tolerance policy, and we will not put up with a call for violence. So let's explore that. I'd like to start with Dr. Rodriguez. Emmanuel Ness, the chair of your political science department, said he supports, quote, resistance by any means necessary, which includes violence. How can you say those statements that you support your Jewish students? Shut up and get out of here.
Gentlemen will suspend. Gentlemen will suspend.
Get out of here, you loser. Come on. By the way, to be clear, I hold you all responsible for this. It is the attitude that you have allowed on your college campuses that make people think that this is okay. That is why this happens, because you have someone like Emmanuel Ness that says resistance by any means necessary, and I assume this person still works at your school. Is that correct?
Microphone, please.
Any call for violence against Jewish members of our community is entirely unacceptable.
So why does this person still work there?
Any individual of our faculty that has a complaint of breaking our rules, we will investigate them and take the appropriate disciplinary action if warranted.
Corinna Mullen at John Jay College said, after October 7th, the right of Palestinian armed resistance is just, and just last month was filmed chanting, up, up, up with freedom, down, down, down with Zionist scum. This is a professor that teaches your Jewish students. How can you say you have an unwavering zero-tolerance policy when this person teaches at your school?
Again, I believe that that faculty member is no longer teaching with the university. Any call for violence, any call for supporting Hamas or terrorism is entirely unacceptable, and we made those statements several times.
At Berkeley, you're next. You created in the fall of 2024, you named Usama Makdizi the inaugural chair of a new endowed program in Palestinian Arab studies. On October 7th, Makdizi described the Hamas attack against Israel as, quote, resistance. Why would you give a job? See, I understand freedom of speech, but you get to decide who to hire. Why would you give a position to someone who said October 7th was justified? Why?
Usama Makdizi, Professor Makdizi, is a fine scholar. He was awarded that position from his colleagues based on academic standards.
Great. So on February 5th, 2024, this great academic, you're showing the problem, said, quote, I could have been one of those who broke through the siege on October 7th. This is what you think is good, and then we're surprised when people come in here and behave this way. I'm going to move on to Georgetown. You've got a campus in Qatar. I note when my colleague, Vice Chair Owens, said, what would happen with a KKK student on campus? You said, yes, but. That's the problem with all of this. We believe that we should deal with racism, and we should, and I did a lot in the Florida legislature to do with that, but there should not be a but after it when it comes to anti-Semites. So at your school in Qatar, you had a October 24th, 2023, an event titled Decolonization is Not Just a Theory. It was an exhibition of armed resistance in Africa in solidarity with Palestine. What does decolonization is not just a theory mean to you, and what does it mean to Georgetown?
I don't have knowledge of that exhibition. This was a student-led event, Congressman.
All right, so I have 90 seconds left, and I'm going to end with this. I have a 17-year-old who will be applying to school next year. He's in Washington interning right now. And how in good conscience could you tell my son, who is Jewish, who's the reason I wear this kippah, how could you tell my son in good conscience that he would be safe at any of your schools? I'll give each of you, 20 seconds to try to answer that question.
I would deeply hope he would feel safe, and there's a reason for this at Georgetown. If Jewish students don't feel safe, if they have fear, if it's not just hurtful to them, it destroys our mission of interfaith dialogue. And
They
that's
don't
the
feel
reason.
safe right now. Your turn.
I have spoken to many students. We have recruited actively in the Jewish community at CUNY. I've actually began a program of extending a program that we have of recruiting in the high schools to the yeshivas, which is College Now. And again, we have listened. I have met with the students, gone to Hillel, listened to their concerns, and I've told them that we need to do better. We have made the changes, and we're showing the results. And listening and being committed to their safety is something that I wake up every day to do.
Yeah, I don't even need an answer from Berkeley, given the answer to that question about that professor. I would tell you this: the Jewish students on your campus, they do not feel safe today, and you all should be ashamed about that. And with that, I yield back.
I thank the gentleman, and I recognize the gentleman from Wisconsin, Mr. Grothman.
Thank you. First of all, just a quick general statement. This has been talked about, the third or fourth, fifth, whatever, committee hearing dealing with anti-Semitism on American campuses, the fact that in many campuses the Jewish students don't feel safe because of what's going on or not being done on the part of the administration. I'll point out, we could sit here for years, we're never going to have a committee hearing on anti-Semitism at the construction site. We're never going to have one anti-Semitism working in retail or working in manufacturing or in the military, or anti-Semitism in the retirement home. This is basically a university problem. And I think it became a problem because we have such a slanted overall view of the world in the university compared to the country as a whole. You know, in an ideal world, I think you'd say that the university faculty represents a cross-section of the country. But we all know that's not true. If we talk to university professors, they'll tell you I was the only person out of 20 people here who voted for President Trump in my department or whatever. And, you know, not every state keeps track of, you know, which party you register in. But in universities that they do keep track, or people do studies, the universities are just overwhelmingly Democrat, which is a breeding ground for this anti-Semitism, because right now the progressive wing of the Democrat Party, not the entire Democrat Party, but the progressive wing of the Democrat Party, which kind of drives the train over there, this anti-Israel feeling has become one of the things, along with global warming or racism or whatever, that becomes the norm. I'll ask a couple of you guys. I guess I'll start with Dr. Lyons. Do you feel your university, ideologically across the board, represents the country as a whole, or even California, as far in disciplines in which there's an ideological component? Law school, journalism school, political science. Does it bother you if it is, you know, the country as a whole right now is about 50-50. Does it bother you that you do not, that I assume, like most college campuses, your student body and your faculty, especially your faculty, don't even remotely represent America?
Ideological or political considerations are not conditions for employment at UC Berkeley. That's true.
No, the question is, if we were talking about affirmative action and you had 8,000 faculty and 5 were black, you would say that's a problem. Now, given that everybody brings a certain ideology to their job, particularly if you're teaching students, that is a problem if it doesn't represent America. I mean, I've been doing this for over 20 years, a politician back home and here. Again and again and again, I hear from college students who can't say what's on their mind in an essay or whatever because they know the teacher will give them a bad grade, or feel the teacher will give them a bad grade if you didn't give the progressive viewpoint of the world. Does this bother you, and do you think this is any of the problem. We'll ask you, Dr.
Well, your statement about getting a bad grade because of
Does it bother you? Does it
Yeah,
bother you
it
that
bothers
does it
me
bother you
deeply.
that your faculty does not remotely represent America? It
What
is
bothers me-
disproportionately not only Democrat, but progressive Democrat, which is where this idea that anti-Israel is the thing to be come from. That's where it comes from, the progressive left. And way disproportionately, your faculty also comes from the progressive left. That's why these people get away with this and think it's normal.
What bothers me, Congressman, is anything that interrupts a dialogue across different intellectual positions.
So it doesn't bother you if 95% of your faculty in disciplines that have an ideological component are progressive Democrats?
Not if we have a
Oh,
thriving
good.
dialogue.
Okay,
across
Mr.
different-
Rodriguez, what do you think about that?
Well, we have about 20,000 faculty members of the City University of New York, and they are a diverse group of.
Do they
of faculty members.
represent, do they even remotely represent America as a whole?
I have no way of knowing
You
that.
must have idea, when you walk around campus and it was a week going to the last election, were there robust debates in which half the people were for Trump? Of course not. You're very, very skewed faculty, which is where this whole problem comes from. Do you acknowledge that your faculty does not ideologically
Gentlemen, to finish
represent
the
America?
question as quickly as possible.
Again, we have a large number of faculty, and they represent diverse points of view, diverse political viewpoint all across the City University of New York.
If I ask you to name.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Thank you.